number 2, would you rather get altitude sickness while doing the Annapurna trek in Nepal, or have painful diarrhea on a camel trek in Morocco?
Oof. Man, I'm gonna go with the altitude sickness.
No,
I
no.
think so, because generally speaking, those situations are like they're somewhat controlled. You know, you can be in, you can just stay in one of those, in the little mountain houses and stuff until you get yourself under. And let me say too, I'm not talking about like life threatening altitude sickness. Obviously, if it was like life threatening, yeah, get out. I'm not
Right.
doing that. But my experience on a camel in Morocco was already horrible. It was like the most uncomfortable experience ever. And yeah, I mean, if you had diarrhea during that out in the desert where there's nowhere to, oh man, that would be a nightmare.
I just remember being on those camels in the Sahara thinking, how do people cross whole deserts on these things? I mean, they're so uncomfortable. I don't know if I was doing it wrong, but it was painful.
Yeah, and I expected there to be a little bit of uncomfort, because my family has a farm, so like I rode horses and stuff when I was a kid, so I know like when you're riding an animal, it's not particularly comfortable. But I was not prepared for it. It was miserable. Like I would have rather walked. I would have rather, like, I asked the guy, like, can I just get off the camel and walk? And the guy was like, no, because you'll be too slow. He's like, the sand is like knee deep, so he's like, you'll be too slow and we don't want to wait on you. So like, no.
I love it. He's like, no, not at all. You're on this camel's tour. You're sticking to it. Just to let you know, mine would rather be diarrhea on a camel, because last time I got altitude sickness, I was crying and throwing up in a friend's dry sack. And he said that I got so delusional that I started asking for a donkey. That I was like, just give me a donkey. I just want to get on a donkey and get out of here. So
Yeah.
apparently that did not work well for me. The
Yeah, we
altitude being
experienced
the altitude.
when we did Gokyo in Nepal. We the very last day up to we were like right around 5,000 meters, and we got stuck in a storm. And the same thing, like Julia got really bad altitude sickness, and I had it a little bit, and I was uncomfortable, but she was like incapacitated. Like I was kind of worried about her a little bit, about whether or not like we're gonna have to get somebody like come like a helicopter or something to come and get
Yeah.
her. But she ended up, we took some medicine, and she took care of it. But side note, if you've never had altitude sickness and you take altitude medicine, it does really weird stuff to you. Like it made this half of my face was numb, and my entire right arm was numb. I couldn't feel them at all,
Oh, wow.
and I think Julia, her nose, she couldn't feel her nose. Like it makes parts of your body just go numb. So if that happens, don't panic. It's part of the drugs.
It's part of the healing your altitude sickness problem. Even though the only thing that worked for me was just hiking down. I just had to go down into a
Yeah,
lower
if it
altitude.
gets bad enough, yeah, that's the only thing you can do. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not getting enough oxygen in your blood. You got to go down.